Natasha?
Yeah, so I heard him say a key term. I think it was biological imperative, right? Um, what then comes to mind for me is okay, well, what about that gentleman's resources? And by resources, I don't necessarily mean financial, it's also an energy thing, right? So
Mhm.
now you're divvying up your resources, which if you're talking about finance, right, using financial principles, you want to diversify, right? Like that's actually a good thing. But then if you don't know how to diversify, it could also be a big problem.
That's
So
true.
I think a gentleman would be wise to keep that in mind from my perspective. But I'd love to hear what you think about that, Noble.
Why are you up?
Because I got some important shit going on here. What do you think?
Boom, the world class.
I can't find one. Doesn't operate like that. You know what I'm saying? So, that's why I agree with you because I think it's an extreme. I think monogamy is extreme when you're in a society with a lot of people and your concept is mono. When you live in a household, you usually have a problem with it, even if it's a so-called single-family household, and you got one person just on that game plan. When you know trash night you got trash got to go out on a certain night, grandma coming on a certain day, but you got the teenage boy want to do whatever the hell he want to do and mess up everything for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what's going on, and we epigenetics is important, and I think you brought that up, Savannah, right? Let
Uh-huh.
me actually read what you were saying. Define, yeah. So explain how epigenetics, biology plays a part um, in partner selection. That's why I have to say what I have to say about it because I think if you look at that mindset, if a woman has that mindset, then you're gonna give me that. You're gonna raise my children in that manner, and I can't fool with you. That's why I tell dudes stop dealing with chicks that come from a family that has a habit of child alienation. Because when I see child alienation, I automatically think monogamy. Because y'all not doing monogamy. What you're really doing is I want to be the only one. Law of habit says how you do anything is how you do everything. And how the brain works is I want to have my way. My self worth is attached to this concept. If I don't have my way, I'm gonna hurt everybody. I gotta get into a fight or flight response. So the mindset for most of these, I want to be the only one, males too, is I got a right to attack you if you don't give me my way. It's a horrible person to be with. So where did you get that from? Is your granddad doing it? Was your mom doing it? Was your uncle doing it? I don't want to be a part of it. For the last 200 years, all you know is niggas is supposed to be controlled. And your association to niggas being controlled is if they're not controlled, I'm not safe. And you're in a place where you can see otherwise. And we have to find a way to expand past this monogamy crap. Again, monogamy created everything that y'all blame feminism for. Because those households were monogamous in the 60s and back. And those people that they produced in the 60s were not able to fight off all of the bullshit civil rights when they should have been fighting for human rights. Not that I don't appreciate the work that they did and their intention, but they didn't produce the people that knew the difference between civil and human. This bullshit feminism where somehow we turned into the enemy when we was getting hung by our throat like you were. Because the goal is I want to be the only one. I want to be the only one means I want to be the only one. That's why in our households now, what 70 to 80% single mother rate, whatever, what is single house, just one parent type bull crap.
Mhm.
Kind of look like you had to, that's the goal. I want to be the only one, and single mother kind of go together. That's what I've been watching. It's the problem. I know it's the problem because the evil will always present itself as an ally, aka the Trojan horse. What y'all think? And I talked a lot.
No, you don't. You talk the perfect amount. Um, when I was trying to find, some of that information on monogamy, it was easier to find more resources on why monogamy doesn't work, right? Or why it's being challenged today. And to your point, you mentioned feminism. There was a university scholar who said there's several cultural shifts that make monogamy, complete, strict, lifelong monogamy, challenging to pull off. So there were three things: capitalism, feminism, and LGBTQA plus. I think there's a 2 and a triangle as well, equality rights, right? So keeping those three things in mind, most people don't disagree with capitalism. Well, a lot of people don't disagree with capitalism. There are definitely feminists, and that's become more and more popular, as has, the LGBTQA plus community and their rights. So add all of those things together. This is why it is so challenging and perhaps hard to find any relevant stats on monogamy. And just to double back, because you mentioned at some point, Noble, that maybe for someone who is disabled, that might be a good example of where monogamy might work. Hopefully Noble will come back and he's hearing us. But I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it's so funny because as soon as he mentioned, Savannah, that he wanted to do this topic, it's like I heard different things about polygamy and monogamy like everywhere. Like it just became more noticeable. So yesterday I was listening to a podcast, 2020. And there's this lady who disappeared. She had mobility issues, kind of aging, but she was on dating apps. And maybe she disappeared because she was on dating apps, and one of the gentlemen that she met could have posed a problem. I don't know. We haven't found her yet, was the end of the story. But it was interesting that she was in these polyamorous setups in order for the men to be beneficial to her, because the story was like some of them would come over and take out the garbage. They would drive her to the grocery store, right? Like that was the setup that made sense to her in her mind to live a high quality life, right? Polyamory. And then the second story happened to me yesterday as well. I was waiting in the grocery store line. It was taking a gajillion years for me to just buy one banana and a bottle of water. The couple that was in front of me, a very cute couple, said, after 20 minutes, because we were still waiting to get in line, but finally we were like right near the cashier, do you want to go ahead of me? And I was like, no, it's okay. It's like, I've been waiting this long anyway. What's an extra like 5 minutes? So when they did their order, my banana and water bottle were like right on their, like right beside their conveyor belt stuff. So the cashier, who was a gentleman, asked in French, but I'm translating, "Are you guys together?" And so the guy from the couple, he said, "We're not there yet." Ha 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 ha. And like we all laughed, right? His girlfriend laughed, or his wife, the lady he was with laughed, the cashier laughed, I laughed. But the whole concept that polyamory or polygamy could be just joked about in 2022, and everybody we all got the joke, right? Like it was funny to everyone.
Right.
It was really fascinating to me. Extra plus, they were, well, I don't know what they were, maybe Lebanese, maybe Italian, but I'm obviously not Lebanese or Italian. So the fact that the cashier still thought that we were together was fascinating to me, right? So not only is polygamy and polyamory accepted, but also the notion of intercultural relationships, right? And diverse couples. So yeah, that was interesting to me as well. So all signs point to polyamory. Doesn't mean that everyone's going to participate in it, but it's definitely way more accepted today, for sure.
Well, I think also, since you did mention the LGBT mafia, however you want to call it, I think sexuality and how people are identifying is playing into polygamy becoming more popular also. I have seen quite a few women in my personal life who have gone the route of pretending to be bisexual in order to satisfy a man who does want multiple women. I think that's the topic we could touch on too.
Okay.
But yeah, forced. I've seen a lot of scenarios of forced interest in wanting multiple partners on the women's side, which I think is an interesting thing to talk about. But that's a very funny story. The fact that it's becoming more of a norm, I think that's kind of ironic. It is the norm already. I think monogamy is more taboo. If you want to talk about it, monogamy has a lot more taboo subjects than polygamy does. We don't talk enough about sex, sexual health, especially with the STDs coming around. And in our community, the numbers are not looking too great. We don't talk about that in that realm. But when you get into more sexualized areas, when people are having, I'm not sure if you can say this, when people are having orgies and all this kind of stuff, they're more health conscious than monogamous people. Couples will go years and years without being tested, even though you suspect your partner of cheating. So it's a lot of weirdness going on, but I am glad it's being talked about more, even if it's in a joking manner.
Listen, sorry I had to drop off, come back. The government after me. They don't like me talking about stuff. I don't know why they be doing this to me. She said
the government and the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Lee said I got asked to join a relationship. I guess I would I would have been a dom over the girl. Probably. Yeah, that's a relationship. I mean, we're going to talk about that next time on Lexi's show. Is that dom and sub relationship with women? Period. It's gonna be fun. But I like your story because for that to exist, I mean, you in Canada, so y'all much more. Y'all much more open to multicultural relationships than we are. Even though we have here in the States more cultures, but we more that what do you call it? Racist relationship is still strong. You know what I'm saying? We're preserving it really well. So I honestly think that polyamory it is at this particular moment the main relationship style that everybody wants to lie about. I remember Savannah asking me, I think recently, do I think that most so-called black women are bisexual? And I was like, it's difficult to answer that because one, I don't think they are naturally. But the way that they live and exist today, yeah, most certainly, because you practice submitting to other women. Because a lot of these women are doing this relationship customization style of monogamy. I want to be the only one. You're doing it because you're afraid that another woman is going to shame you, not because you really care about what this random man that you want to be the only one for, that you never met and you've been wanting since you've been 12 years old. You more worried about, you have more of a face of who's going to shame you than who you're going to actually be with. And I think that practice of submitting to other women, which is what most black women do, that's why they are the most submissive on the planet, because they submit every day to white men and other females, all day, every day, nonstop. But they have a relationship with the man of being the dominant one and him being the submissive one. That's the position I take. So I say all that in relationship to what you were saying about the story you had, is that it's open. It's at this point when you got a bunch of group of people that are pushing to be able to have sex with children, your child. I think they're going to push to be able to, stop parents from being able to stop them. I think it's time to have a conversation, and we said it multiple times. There's literally no reason to lie anymore. There's no reason to be afraid of this conversation. I was having these conversations, monogamy versus polygamy, polygyny, polyamory, about 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And it's kind of, it's interesting. It's interesting to see where it is. I wouldn't say it got better, but the alphabet community is truly open. Yeah. Um, they're getting polygamy pretty easy. The Dom girls and the femme they having a whole bunch of relationships up. They free. They have a lot of polygamy going. Well, it's not really. No, I'm not about to get into that. I'm about to get canceled. Hold on, let me make sure. Cover. What was the other thing? Who is? Oh yeah. So let's answer this. Who is qualified for polygamy?
Whew.
Be
Okay.
honest.
What I was thinking with this question was, I hear a lot that, first of all, women are willing to compromise their stance on how they want their relationship to go, depending on how much money the man makes.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't necessarily think that is essential to live a polygamous lifestyle, I do think it needs to be. Jay, look at what Jay said.
She's talking about. Oh, fuck.
I do agree with it. I'm not saying that, quote unquote, chase the bag, but if you don't have your lifestyle together, if you're struggling yourself, you're certainly not qualified to take care of anyone else, let alone multiple women. Especially if you're talking about actually cultivating relationships with all of them and not just sleeping with them. And if we really want to get into it, most men are not satisfying women in the bed. So you want to disappoint 2-3 ladies at a time. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they'll stab you. They're gonna stab you. You don't want those problems.
But yeah.
All right. Yeah, being a broke ninja, if you can't afford a sword, so it's not gonna help you. You gotta put the outfit on. If you don't got no money, you gotta do something. Go on there. Natasha, what would you say? You on the fence? You are on the fence with it, but I'm sure you have a qualification. Like the couple that was behind you.
Yeah, I'm gonna think off the top of my head here, and I don't know if it's controversial or not, but almost like the genital conversation or the pants conversation, I'm not sure the financial conversation is necessarily a priority. I think it's obviously a point that needs to be considered, as is intimate compatibility, but men offer more than just those two things as their value to the world, right? So I think
Amen.
that there's more things to consider when entering into any kind of relationship. But for a polygamous relationship, I would absolutely need to see that he's got great communication skills, he's disciplined, he's got some sense of structure, order, vision. Because if those things aren't together, then again, what are we doing, right? So now it's what are we doing as a group, right? It's not just the two of us being necessarily led astray or going down this random path. It doesn't necessarily mean it's astray, but the future is super random because there's no plan. So instead of just being no plan for two people, now there's no plan for a group of people. And then if you throw kids in the mix, this is where I get slightly concerned, regardless of the relationship structure. Like, the gentleman really needs to be like on the P's and Q's when it comes to discipline and vision. So that would be what I would look for. And that's what would trigger to me or signal to me like qualification.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Savannah. Go ahead.
I want to touch on a comment. It wasn't necessarily to attack men. I just think when people hear about these types of relationships, they automatically think financial stability, especially when you're talking about potentially having kids on top of that. You have to make sure your household is solid. So I think that is definitely something you want to touch on before committing to that type of relationship. But also, I would say for the women, if you're not comfortable being ranked, if you're not comfortable competing and contributing in the ways you need to contribute to the relationship, again, it goes back to being real with yourself. If you have issues in terms of being territorial and possessive over a man, this is not the relationship for you. If you don't know how to be a team player, if you're talking about sister wives especially, if you don't know how to get along with women,
Hey, amen.
and not take it out on the man or the children, then this relationship is not for you either. So you have to make sure both parties are responsible and they're not going to sabotage the relationship based on temporary, emotion.
Situation.
Yeah.
Who is qualified for polygamy? Oh, right. Well, did we read the definition of polygamy? We didn't actually look at the definition of polygamy, did we? We looked at monogamy. We didn't look at polygamy. Okay,
Yeah, we didn't look at the definition for polygamy yet.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying. You know how I start. I gotta be disciplined. All right. Oh, you know what? I forgot that I left out. Hold on. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Struggle streaming. Hit too many buttons at once. All right, so polygamy, right? As you stated earlier, Natasha, marriage with more than one spouse. See, it's a little older. See what I'm saying? You know how you do something, and then like 10 years later, somebody try to counter you. You know what I'm saying? Like haters, like from polygamia, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't agree. Poly obviously means I'm gonna click this in a second. Poly obviously means many, and that's kind of where the Bible comes into play. Because this girl was kind of debating me. She was like, when I told her, the Bible says, "Be fruitful and multiply." She was like, "It don't mean poly don't mean multiply." I said, "Okay." I said, "All right, that's like 2 and 3 right there. That's where you messed up. You don't tell me crazy stuff." Right, so, word form element, many, much, multi, right? It's easy to get multiplied when multi is in it, right? Okay, so we have that. And then we have, technically polygyny. I think this is more the word because that's pretty easy, but what does polygyny mean? 1980 condition of having many wives is specifically men having marriages with wives because there was a lot of weird shit going on back in the day. I don't want to talk about it. Homosexuality is not new, guys. I hope y'all know that. Marriage and cohabitation of one man with more than one woman at a time, having many wives, many, etc. Y'all see the shit. If you need me to put it in I will actually. I just put it in chat. The reason I'm going over that because I gotta address this thing that I've had to have these conversations plenty of times, like a lot of times. It seems that when polygamy come up, it's just all of these requirements all of a sudden. Because I've been watching you niggas do monogamy, and you screw everybody. You screw like JLE was putting homosexuals. It's a lot of female homosexuals. Don't nobody want to talk about that part. It's a lot of chicks that's 30 years old still living with their grandmother. That ain't never worked a day. Y'all don't want to talk about that. It's like all of a sudden out of nowhere you need a bunch of standards. So let's keep stuff. And the thing that's weird with me is like we do polygamy, polygyny, polyamory. We do it, but then we want to come up with rebuttals or disqualification when all we're saying is let's be honest about what we're already doing. But that's not the answer to the question. Polygamy is in 2022 is for people that want to be honest and stop lying. I think that's the modern definition I can give. You want to be in a high exchange with a person and be honest. Like if you have men that are not monogamous, that's what it's for you. Because you have a lot of women that appreciate that honesty because the one thing you'll lie about, you're not lying about. She really don't have to worry about you. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be transparent. You'll say whatever. I'm not gonna put the financial requirements on it because I think this space is garbage when it comes to money. Y'all are trash. I mean that when it comes to financial literacy, this is the worst sector in YouTube I've ever seen in my life. Y'all are garbage. You keep talking about 6 figures. Dummies. First of all, it's about your ROR and your ROI on your investments. The fact that you're saying a certain number is evidence that you're not good enough to have this conversation. Sit your stupid ass down. Leave it to the people that have had licenses and shut the fuck up. Y'all irritate me so bad. I don't talk about it for a lot of reasons. You make me mad. It doesn't matter. If you go read the book, Millionaire Next Door, it's about reducing your debt, getting out of debt, doing the same exact thing that you did to get out of debt to start to invest. It's not about income. It's about your return. So I don't. If a dude makes $50,000, but he somehow found a way to make his bills $1,200 a month, that nigga's free. If he found a way to make 40, but he only has to work 20 hours a week, he lit. If he found a way to make 80 and he works 40 hours a week, but he's somehow, some way saving 60% of his income. So y'all don't ever talk about none of these things. Go watch all of those cash guys, see what they talk about. They're not talking about nothing I just said. That's a guy that's smart. So that's why I want to talk about cash as it relates to poly or monogamy, because it deserves, money deserves its own conversation and its own education and its own standards. I think polygamy is for men that are leaders, you know. And honestly, I can't responsibly say anything outside of that. Polygamy is for leaders. It's for leaders. It's not for guys it's not for submissive men. It's not. So, you know what I mean? It's not. Oh, the woman next to, I think I got that book too. Like it hit your soul. You was like, yes, somebody gets it.
Well, I can't find the original one. I know I have it somewhere in my library. That's why I was looking up. So this is just part of my library up here. But I found Selling to the Affluent. That's another one of his books. And then The Millionaire Woman Next Door. But yeah, he's just a great writer. Net worth is absolutely more important than, you know, your salaried income.
Absolutely, positively the truth. It's more important than profits, because how much money is your money making? Like, you're focusing on the wrong stuff, and being frugal in places that it matters. And, you know, you're not cheating yourself. You're not going to starve yourself out, but, you know, being frugal in places that, you know, for the purpose of generating efficiency. That's what it's supposed to be about, efficiency. That's why I like the guy, Dan Locke. He said there's no such thing as financial independence. He said it's financial confidence. Financially confident, no matter how things are changing in the world, I'm confident that I have the skills to be able to manage, and I take that approach. I'm not worried about big numbers. I'm not worried about it, but I do want 150 million a month. So look at CJ. It's CJ for me. When you say keep, I'm not a slave owner. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you got a girl. I don't have no. I can't even buy myself through my mama's vagina on my daddy dick first. I don't got nobody with my little son. So yeah, that's that. I would say those two things. A man that wants to be honest and a leader. That is who it's for. And I say it like that, in excluding a requirement for a woman, not because I can't speak to that, not because I'm not a woman, but he dictates what it is. He'll tell her. He the type of leader he is. That'll dictate what type of relationship he can be in. You can't lead. I can't lead everybody. I can't lead a chick that's like, well, I don't care about it. Like, if you don't care, you don't need to be around me. If you're not passionate about helping people or helping the people in your life, I can't lead you, because I'm gonna cut you out. You know what I'm saying? That's my position. Okay, let's look at your next question. Your next question was.
First.
Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, I would say something that we haven't talked about on the woman's side is that with anytime a man is procreating, assuming that he does have a son, it's about legacy. So we talk about, you know, that and how valuable that is for men, but for any relationship, not just a polygamous relationship, I would advise the woman, when you get with a man of that caliber, it is your responsibility to essentially become that man. God forbid anything happens to him before the children have, you know, gotten to an age where they can take care of themselves. It's now your responsibility to continue to instill the morals that the man has implanted in you first, for the children. So I think that's also something that not just exclusive to a polygamous relationship, but it's certainly something that's the value of a real woman should be bringing to that type of relationship anyway. On top of, you know, cooking and cleaning And I know that that point gets kind of old. Everyone should be cooking, everyone should be cleaning. But when you think about it, you're supposed to be saving this man money. You're not supposed to get a high value man to go blow his paycheck on some Gucci.
Facts.
Right? You're supposed to keep the money in the house, keep it circulating, mitigate all the. Your nails do not need to be $200 every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have children. So it's just a lot of things. Help the man. Relieve him of the stress. He should not be coming home to a war zone. So I think that's what a woman contributes to any relationship. Especially when you're dealing with multiple women under one household, you've got to keep it together. So yeah, that's just the answer to that question.
Natasha?
All right. I'm sorry, I got lost in the train of thought of just all that goodness I just heard.
We didn't do this because we like you. We did this because we are you.
Boom, the world class.